All right, we're going to play the percentages here, and Keith Costas has agreed to throw us an assist as we've reached the top of the hour. Keith, what do we got?
All right, guys, going to run through these scenarios. Lauren actually set them up, but the state of New Jersey has finally called on her to serve her duty as a juror. So we'll check back in with her at some point, but for now, I'll fill in here. Yes, exactly. First question here, guys. What are the chances Roki Sasaki does not sign with the Dodgers? Need a percentage on your whiteboards. They've said market factor, or market size is not a factor, rather. Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Cubs, Rangers, Giants, Padres, all reportedly involved.
Chances
so far.
he does not sign with the Dodgers?
Does not sign with the Dodgers.
0%.
Wow, Harold coming in hot. I think it's a 50% chance. There's a chance he goes someplace
That's
else.
a lock deal.
I'll give it a coin flip.
I'll be shocked.
What do you think, Keith?
I would tend towards more what Harold had to say. I think he's probably headed to the Dodgers, and the rich get richer.
That's not going to be any fun for anybody else, but so be it. That's how it goes.
I don't know if you guys saw this one yesterday, moving on to our second question here, but A.J. Brown reading a book on the bench, Inner Excellence. What are the chances that we see a Major League Baseball player pull out a book in the dugout this year, guys?
That's so good. Oh, that's so good. By the way, this guy now, apparently this is the top-selling book on Amazon.
Brady had very nice things to say about it. He was down on Burkhardt for not having read it.
Yep, I just happened to turn it on at that time.
Chances that we see a Major League Baseball player reading a book, it's 100% because it happens. There are guys that read books.
I say they're going to be on their phone reading.
Back-to-back Sandoval blocks here, guys. Remember Pablo Sandoval on the Instagram? But that's a story for another day. All right, moving on to the third question
Carlos Delgado
here, guys.
used to read books in the dugout. Anyway.
Chances that Judge and Ohtani both repeat as MVPs. We've never had dual repeat winners. Ohtani would become just the second player to win 3 consecutive.
I'll put a really arbitrary 88% chance. I mean, Ohtani wins it when he gets out of bed.
Fair.
And if Judge hits 60, which he's more than capable of doing.
That's why I went 50%. Ohtani's winning. Judge is the only one that's going to be challenged because he doesn't pitch.
Still, I like him. I like him as the favorite for sure.
So we're predicting history here, guys. Over 50% for both of you, or at least 50% for the dual repeat winners here in the MVP. Next question, what are the chances we see a true blockbuster trade before opening day? We've talked about Arenado a lot, maybe a Mariners pitcher, Luis Castillo, any other ones you want to throw out? Blockbuster before we get to the season.
Blockbuster, not just a trade, but a blockbuster.
Yeah.
You got 100%?
I got 100%.
You got something in mind?
I do think that there's going to be, I do.
I'll take a 0 off of there, and I say 10%.
White Sox apologist in the control room throwing out Luis Robert is another guy to consider.
That's not a blockbuster.
That's not a blockbuster.
All right, fair enough.
I'm saying a package deal like Mariners pitching or, that type of stuff.
Yeah, they've been kind of quiet on that
Top
regard.
prospects or...
Maybe I'll go to 11%.
Yeah.
11%. All right, we'll take it, guys. Next one, and this is a little out of left field. Any chance that Max Scherzer changes roles and is a closer?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Pure speculation from the internet, but we'll get your thoughts on it. One save in his career was in the playoffs.
Everybody's on the internet, man.
Everybody's on the internet, and they're all, I guess, speculating about Max Scherzer changing roles.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. How about? I don't know. This feels like a cop-out answer, but I think there's a 50%. By the way, my percentage sign stinks. Yeah, 50%. Why not?
I'm with you on that. I'll tell you what, if that would open his market up big time.
If somebody could sell Max on that as a way,
that's the hard part. It's a good idea in theory. I'm not sure he wants it.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants it.
Well, he's already headed to Cooperstown. You've already accomplished everything, and now go be John Smoltz and be one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
Easier said than done.
Well, speaking of Cooperstown, that's our last one, guys. Here, what are the chances 4 players are elected? I think we can all safely assume Ichiro is one of those players. We already have 2 in from the Veterans Committee in Dick Allen and Dave Parker. Willa, 4th. CeCe, Billy Wagner, Carlos Beltran, you see on the tracker there, get in.
Yeah, for me, it's not 4. I don't think. Well, yeah, I give it a very small chance of 4 guys getting to 75%.
I said 75%.
What?
It makes the writers look bad.
So, Maddie, just to clarify, are you including Parker in on that? Parker
I'm not
Allen,
including
or
the
just
guys
four?
from the ballot, from the committee ballot.
All right, so we'll talk these four.
Yeah, no, I don't think four get in.
Can we see that? There they are.
Forget it's from here.
CC, Wagner,
Writers
Beltran.
ballot guys, just BBWAA ballot guys.
I see. I mean, Andrew Jones might shock us.
I think it's the top three: Ichiro, CC, Wags. That's my vote.
I think Beltran gets in.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think that'd be great, but I don't think it's more than three guys. How about you, Keith? Your pulse is on this.
I think we get to four out of that group, guys. I do think that all four of those guys that we had highlighted on the tracker will end up getting in this season. That leaves us one last question, guys. We know she's gone today. Does Shahadi get called back in yet again for jury duty this week?
There's only one more! There is
There
only
she is.
one
Look at
more!
him looking very firm and contemplative there. What are we supposed to do? I just can't.
Will she be called back in? I am 100%. She is too nice. She'll be back.
I don't know. She takes a lot of phone
My
calls.
priest is calling me.
You know what? No, because they're gonna get to know Lauren.
I'm not a germaphobe. I'm the opposite.
Yes, you are.
I share toothbrushes.
Right. They don't want her on there. Plus, she's got to be on
I
camera.
love that camera shot.
Yeah, right. We're gonna take a break. Keith, thank you for that.
You got it.
Hey, speaking of Hall of Fame classes, a little bit later on. All right, welcome back. JP Morosi leading the league on a Monday with fresh information. JP, good morning. We knew this was the time of year when Roki Sasaki's timeline would determine where he's going to pitch here stateside. He's saying goodbye to Japan.
Sayonara.
Yep, sayonara, in other words. Give us the timeline and some of the likely suitors for his services.
Matt and Harold, good morning. This is very likely the week when we will learn where Roki Sasaki will pitch in Major League Baseball, because Wednesday begins the international signing period for players who are classified as amateurs. And that is still the case for Roki Sasaki, given his age, which of course is a key reason why so many teams are interested. And that list includes the Toronto Blue Jays. According to Ken Rosenthal and Andy McCullough of The Athletic, this is very recent news that was reported by Ken Rosenthal and Andy McCullough that the Blue Jays have met with Roki Sasaki. So they now join this group of a little more than a half dozen teams with still active interest in the Japanese superstar pitcher, Roki Sasaki. Again, he is 23 years of age. We saw him dazzle the competition at the World Baseball Classic. Still some interesting developments there with respect to his overall projection. He is not necessarily a pitcher who is already fully developed in the mold of a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but we do expect him to be one of the star rookies MLB. He's not necessarily, guys, going to sign with the biggest market. He is drawn to teams that have a really good pitching development plan. The Blue Jays notably have done a very good job developing young pitchers, most recently Bowden Francis, who came on and really pitched well for them in 2024. So the Jays have joined the list of teams that include, and in many ways are headlined by, the likes of the Dodgers and the Padres.
All right, let me lock in on the financials.
Okay, great lead, D-Row, great lead. All right, we talked about this before, but it's worth bringing it back. So explain his market. Is there a locked-in price that you can go to, or is he really like a free agent and they can continue to offer him whatever you want? Because when I started hearing Blue Jays and Sasaki, I'm thinking, hey, they offered Ohtani $700 million. That's what most people would think. Explain the restrictions of the contract.
Good call.
Yes, very, very important point here, Harold, because at this moment in time, as I mentioned, that he's classified as international amateur and counts against the team's international amateur signing bonus pool. Because he is not yet 25 years of age, he cannot get the mega deal like Ohtani or Soto this winter, for example. So the signing bonus for him is likely to be somewhere in the $3 to $4 million range, maybe $5 million. But it's going to be in this narrow range because he has to fit within the confines of a team's international signing bonus pool, which is why, to be fair, Harold, a lot of teams have held off on some of their decisions about where they plan to allocate their money once the international signing bonus period begins on Wednesday, January 15th. That window runs up against now what the posting window is for Sasaki, which concludes on January 23rd. So by definition, within the next 2 to 10 days, we're going to find out where Sasaki is going to sign, and that will likely influence to some degree how teams view the rest of the free agent pool, even though, Harold, to your very important point,
$3 or $4 million.
It's going to be a $3 or $4 million decision, and that is where a lot of teams have to be focused because, by rule, that's the pool that he fits into.
Have there been... Oh, that's disgusting. Sorry. Have there been teams, JP, that have been trying to make themselves a little leaner in terms of international money for this moment? Like, has this been like a slow burn for a couple of teams to get ready for Sasaki?
It has been for multiple teams. And to be fair, we won't know the full extent of exactly how teams have planned out their international classes, if you will, until 2 days from now, because that's when we typically hear and understand maybe agreements that are happening right as things begin. That'll start to become clear about, there are a couple teams now who have a couple $1 million that they haven't spent yet, and we start to wonder why that's the case. And
okay, hold it right there, JP, right there. So $3 or $4 million. If you're a U.S. player, they have control of you for 6 years before you're a free agent. Is this a 1-year contract, 2 years, 3? What is the control here?
Same exact thing. A really good analogous case, Harold, is the Angels with Ohtani when he first came over.
Yep.
It's 6 years. This is a minor league contract with a signing bonus that has to fit within the international pool. And just like the same rule was for Ohtani, you will have control of Sasaki.
Or Vlad or any of the international players. Got it. Perfect.
All right, so Sasaki's decision is pending and forthcoming.
I love history. Did your wife keep her maiden name?
Man, I tried to call you. Did you change your number?
What you wearing? You smell good.
Thank you. Muchos, thank you.
She always makes me laugh.
Still
always
one of the
good.
best.
Will Leach of MLB.com's pen is mightier this morning, joining us on this Monday. Will, good morning. I want to start this little discussion here. You've written something on MLB.com that we thought was really a lot of fun. And for those of us old enough to remember the song by a duo called Zager and Evans, not Brad Zager and Mark Evans, the Salesforce du jour at Fox, but Zager and Evans, the recording artist, in the year 2525, in the year 2520, it feels like we're already there. And you're fast forwarding along the future to identify World Series winners for the next 10 years. Give us your methodology first on this before we zero in on this.
Watching a lot of Back to the Future over the weekend, weren't you?
Listen, when we get to 2034, obviously we're looking at war projections. We're figuring out FanGraph. No, we're by 2034. Who knows? Who has any idea what's going on in 2034? I have hope we make it, to be entirely honest. But certainly it's kind of fun to. It's a fun thing to look at to track. I've done this for a few years. I feel terrible saying I've yet to get them all exactly correct. But it's always kind of a fun idea to project the next 5 years. Because remember, 10 years happens really fast. Ask Yankees fans how quickly 15 years can go without we getting to our World Series. So it's kind of fun to project out deep into the future, including next year.
Yeah, we love this, as a matter of fact. And I know that you've taken kind of some contractual information, maturation dates of young players into the calculus here. Let's get right to next year's World Series matchup. Who plays for the Commissioner's Trophy next season?
I have a hard time not going with the Dodgers heading there. And I like the Tigers. I'm really a big fan of the Tigers. Like that division seems very winnable. They kind of made a pretty good run last year. I like the idea of them. I love the Bregman idea that you guys talked about in the last segment. I think that makes a ton of sense, more sense than Boston. And that's a team with some good pitch and hitting that seems finally ready to maybe turn the corner. I like that. That's my dark horse team this.
Okay. All right, you got a little chalk, and then you've got the Tigers riding the momentum. And then in 2026, it's 1986 all over again.
I feel obliged to point out Steve Cohen was 30 in 1986. So I like to imagine a 30-year-old Steve Cohen being like, if they don't have a World Series next 40 years, I'll buy one. So the idea of Mets and Red Sox next year sounded really just kind of irresistible on the 40-year anniversary, but it makes a certain amount of sense, right? The Mets clearly are gearing up for that in the next few years. And I think the Red Sox have a lot of talent. Clearly, they're starting to try to at least be a little bit more aggressive. I just could not resist the idea of 2026 Red Sox.
You know, and while we're doing World Series redos, your 2027 matchup is 2008. The rain delay, the Rays, the Phillies, and what do we do there?
But again, who knows who will be on the Rays? And Caminero will be there, but the Rays are always kind of retooling. But I feel like they'll be good. That's always a pretty good bet. They'll be due for one by then. To me, the Phillies is the interesting one here. Because the Phillies have gotten older, there's always this sense that, like, this is the last year of the Phillies. These guys are getting, they got to win one now. I don't know why that's necessarily true. I feel like these guys are still signed for a long time. This will be the last year of Zach Wheeler's contract, so he'll still be there. I feel like the Phillies may end up being like the 2006 Cardinals, where like the really good teams that didn't win the World Series, but then the one that's maybe a year after you'd expect them to is the one that breaks through. Remember, a lot of this is a crapshoot. I like the idea of the Phillies sneaking one in at that.
All right, and the following year, I love how you're doing this, by the way, because we're doing all these World Series rematches. You've been very sentimental on us here. 1979, We Are Family strikes again in 2028.
They've got to wear those unis. I don't think there's any question about that. They've got to wear those late 70s unis. They do this. The Orioles have to get one at some point. You would think by 2028 they will have won a playoff series and broken through a little bit. I actually kind of love the Pirates. I think that young pitching is they're going to have to spend some money on the offense, obviously, but that young pitching really feels like it might be maturing and really coming together by then. You can see that being the Skeens World Series. I like these two kind of young teams. The Orioles finally breaking through at that time. And then that's the last year of Gunnar Henderson's contract. As that's how far we're going into the future. I think that's a year that it finally comes together.
The following year, if Fox still has the World Series, or maybe by that time it'll be streaming on like hsntv.com plus or something like that. Yankees and Cubs. That's a dream ratings World Series, just like the one we just had.
Yeah, we'll pluck it from the cloud or whatever we're doing. It'll be hologram. We'll be VRing it. I'll be playing. I'll be batting as a VR player. And then, 2029, that would be 97 years since the Yankees actually won the World Series at Wrigley Field. That's also one of the last. It's funny to think that there's only two players currently on the Yankees that are actually signed through that time, Max Fried and Aaron Judge. This is so far away. Anthony Volpe will have just hit free agency the year before this happens. But nevertheless, I think the general rule, you kind of can't go wrong assuming that the Yankees and the Cubs are going to be somewhat competitive, particularly the Yankees at that time. They'll have Judge, they'll have Fried, they'll obviously be invested to do it. And, at that point, it will have been 20 years since they won the last World Series. And it'll good to see Yankee fans finally get a little joy in.
We'll get now to what is my favorite one of your 10 predictions for the next 10 World Series matchups, because if your 2030 prediction comes to fruition, one of these teams will win a World Series for the first time in their franchise histories. This would be a lot of fun.
Now, the Mariners will have to extend Julio by this point because his contract does run out before this, but he will be 30 in 2030. That's amazing, right? The idea of Julio Rodriguez he's been around so long, he'll still only be 30 in 2030. My middle schooler will graduate from high school that year. It's very far away, and he'll still be 30 years old. The idea of the Mariners, they're going to have, I feel like when the Mariners do eventually get in the World Series, Harold, you can appreciate this. They got to win it. I don't want they'll get in their first one. They've got to actually get one. So I love that idea of Julio doing the year he turns 30.
Yeah, I like that. I like how you're doing this, too, with contractual expiration dates and players coming of age. We're going to put the next group up for you to comment on one or two that you think you can really unload on. Mets and Twins in 2031. Dodgers, Red Sox, some years after the 2018 World Series matchup the same way. White Sox, Cardinals, and Athletics and Rockies 10 years from now.
Really dug into the numbers on 2034 and really, I mean, I'm just telling you, it's math, it's science, it's facts. I'm just here to report those facts. Yeah, that's what it'll look like. That's exactly what the sphere will look like in that time. To me, one of the fun ones there is actually the Mets over the Twins. I like the idea that will be the last year of Francisco Lindor's he'll be 38 that year. That will also be the year after Mike Trout's contract runs out. To me, one of the fun stories of 2031 is where after I presume Mike Trout has still not won a playoff game by then still being with the Angels. What year team he goes to sign a 1-year contract to win a World Series? I love the idea of being the Phillies' his hometown team, but just to be mean, I thought he'd sign with the Mets. So a 40-year-old Mike Trout in 2031 winning his first World Series, Wade Boggs style with the rival.
By the way, by 2034, the sphere is going to be as outdated as your parents' VCR. That will be yesterday's technology at that point.
There'll be holograms everywhere. Question.
Yes.
Dodgers only appeared one time, I think. That was this year in your run.
Yeah, and they'll have had 2 in a row. So, you know, they'll be
2 in a row.
So I like the idea that the Dodgers are going to be so good for so long that they'll have 2 separate periods where we're like, hey, can the Dodgers win the big one? Can they actually break through and win the World Series? Like they can win 2 in a row now, still be good for the next 9 years and have that question about, well, are they really a dynasty? That's kind of the curse of being the Dodgers, of being a really, it's a tough curse. I think every team would be happy to have that curse. But the idea of being good every year and still running into the crapshoot, that is the playoffs. And so if they win 2 in a row, I don't think anyone's going to mind if they don't win one for a while, but the Dodgers, I feel like they'll be in the playoffs every single one of those years because, you know, they're the Dodgers.
Why not? A lot of fun. Well, we appreciate the time. We appreciate what you've come up with here. Folks can read about it at MLB.com. Will Leach predicting the future of the next 10 World Series winners. Will, thanks, man.
大谷翔平選手が今シーズン二刀流として復活するという期待は野球界だけでなくスポーツ全体における最大のトピックの一つとなっています。昨シーズン打者1000年で見せた圧倒的なパフォーマンス、そしてその陰に隠れた不断の努力と決意は多くのファンを魅了し勇気づけました。今シーズン彼が再び投手としての復帰を果たし二刀流としての挑戦を続ける姿はすべてのスポーツファンにとって大きな希望の象徴です。もちろん今回の挑戦は簡単なものではありません。トミー・ジョン手術を2度経験し、その後のリハビリと復帰には大きなリスクが伴います。さらに、昨年のワールドシリーズで負った肩の怪我もあり、開幕戦から全力で投げることは難しい状況です。しかし、それでも大谷選手がその困難を乗り越え、自分自身の可能性を広げていく姿には、計り知れない感動とインスピレーションがあります。これまでの経歴を振り返ると、彼がどのようにして難題を乗り越え、成功を手にしてきたかがわかります。2018年にミー・ジョン手術を受けた後、翌年には打者として復帰し、その後、2021年には投手として本格復帰を果たしました。そのシーズンでは9勝を挙げ、翌年2022年には15勝9敗、防御率2.33という驚異的な成績を残しました。このような経験を踏まえると、今シーズンの彼の目標は慎重に設定されていると言えます。投手としては21年のように優勝前後を目指しつつ、本格的なピークパフォーマンスは来年に向けて調整されると考えられます。一方で、彼が加入したドジャースというチームの環境は、彼にとって理想的な舞台です。エンゼルス時代とは異なり、ドジャースには層の厚い投手陣が揃っています。ブレイク・スネル、山本由伸、タイラー・グラスノー、そしてベテランのクレイトン・カーショーが築くローテーションの中で、大谷選手が無理をせず、自分のペースで投打両面に集中できることは大きなアドバンテージです。監督のデーブ・バツ氏も、大谷選手が投手として復帰するタイミングについて慎重に計画しており、シーズン全体を通して彼の負担を最小限に抑える方針をとっています。このような環境は大谷選手にとって健康と成績の両立を可能にする理想的な状況と言えるでしょう。さらに、東京ドームでの開幕戦は、ファンにとって特別な意味を持っています。大谷選手がその舞台に投手として立つ可能性は低いとされていますが、それでも彼の存在感がチームや ファンに与える影響は計り知れません。彼の一挙手一投足に注目が集まり、ファン一人一人がその瞬間を共有することで、野球が持つ感動の力を再確認できるでしょう。では、皆さんはどう思いますか？大谷翔平選手の今シーズンの挑戦や、彼が目指す新たな史上初について、どのような期待を抱いていますか？彼がドジャースでどのような役割を果たし、どのような新しい伝説を作り上げるのか、その未来を一緒に想像してみましょう。ぜひコメント欄であなたの意見や感想を教えてください。ファン同士で意見を共有し合うことで、さらに盛り上がりを感じられるはずです。また、この動画が面白いと感じた方は、ぜひいいねとチャンネル登録をお願いします。私たちの励みになるだけでなく、あなたと同じように野球を愛する仲間たちと感動を共有する機会が広がります。そして、次回の動画で取り上げてほしいテーマや話題があれば、ぜひ教えてください。あなたのリクエストが、より充実した内容を生み出す原動力になります。最後になりますが、2025年のシーズンが、ドジャース、大谷翔平選手、そして、すべての野球ファンにとって忘れられない最高の1年になることを心から願っています。私たちは、これからも大谷選手の挑戦を見守り、彼が成し遂げる新たな歴史の目撃者となる瞬間を楽しみにしています。一緒に彼を応援し、野球の素晴らしさを分かち合いましょう。ありがとうございました。